afternoon and welcome to our celebration. We are one community, the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Celebration that's right here in Mansfield, Ohio. This year, we are going virtual and we are so glad that you're joining us. Right now, I want to introduce to you a wonderful man who's done a lot for this community as well as our school district. Please help me welcome Mansfield City Schools Superintendent, Mr. Stan Jefferson, who's going to tell us a little bit about how this all came about, this wonderful celebration.
Good afternoon. Today's event marks another year that we get to reflect and remember the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This year's celebration requires more creativity than years past. Thank you to the administrators, teachers, staff, and families who work together to ensure this tradition continue. 53 years after the death of Dr. King, we are still witnessing displays of social, racial, and political unrest. The work is far from over. It is even more urgent for us to build bridges to understanding and work to improve our communities for everyone. Dr. King once said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are we doing for others?" As the global pandemic of COVID-19 remains, communities near and far are experiencing losses like never before. The demand of life, as we know, it can be overwhelming. As we all navigate the many daily changes of our lives, we must constantly remind ourselves that our best efforts come when we work together. When we step outside of our comfort zones to ensure the well-being of others and listen with empathy. This is the essence of the word community. It is the foundation of leadership and the foundation of justice. Tiger Nation, there is simply no limit to what we as a community can accomplish when we seek to serve others. As administrators, educators, staff, students, and families, we must all explore how can we lead and respond with kindness. Doing so allows us to see the value in each other and move forward with excellence. I challenge you not to view today just as a holiday off from work or school. Learn about the life of Dr. King, the sacrifices that he and so many others made in the spirit of service. I hope you enjoy and appreciate the remarks from local leaders and the performances and the expressions of students of the Mansfield City Schools. Have a great day. Thank you.
And now we'd like to introduce to you the Mansfield City Schools Board of Education President, Mrs. Cheryl Weber.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to our virtual Martin Luther King Day. We were asked to reflect on one aspect of Dr. King that we can apply to today. When I was teaching and we were talking about the civil rights movement, one of the things that I stressed with my students was the nonviolent methods that Dr. King and his followers used. The peaceful sit-ins, the peaceful marches, that they knew that by using nonviolent protest and civil disobedience, that they could get those people who were influential and they could get more people to back them because they showed that their purpose, that the reason that they were doing this was the right thing, to bring justice and civil rights for all people. What we need to think about today and to reflect, is this use of nonviolent protest. Dr. King studied Gandhi and his efforts in India to bring peacefully about a new republic. And so Dr. King applied those aspects to the civil rights movement. I think in today's society, with what we are dealing with the pandemic, and as our superintendent, Mr. Jefferson, said, we are divided politically and economically, and in justice, especially racial justice. And so I think we need to follow what Dr. King had preached long ago, is that by nonviolent means, we can get those people who are influential, who are going to be able to back this injustice that we have today. And so this is one of the things that Dr. King, I'm sure, if he was here today, would still be preaching, this idea of nonviolent protest. And so we need to look to our future, to our students, to our community, to actually follow this idea of nonviolent protest so that we can bring justice for everyone in every aspect of life. Thank you, and have a good day.
Now we'd like to introduce to you Mansfield City Schools Board of Education member, Ms. Renda Klein.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Dr. King was a black man who was living in a time where there were Jim Crow laws and there were black codes that kept black people from experiencing the American pursuit of happiness. He used his voice and his self-control to lead the nation with other leaders with courage and nonviolent tactics, which included voting, which included sit-ins, which included marches, which included many sacrifices of self. He did this in the face of courage, in the face of angry other leaders. He did this in the face of fear, but he did this with hope, with a dream. And yet he had a dream. Today, we continue to see violence against those who do continue to have that dream. Dr. King said, "The measure of a man is not how he behaves in moments of comfort and convenience, but how he stands at times of controversy and challenges." Today, we continue to ask you to use your voice. Use your voice now with other leaders. Be your best and do your best. Do what's best for all. Use your voice, use your vote, use your actions for liberty and justice for all. It's now time for us to make the dreams a reality. Continue to use the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Joining us now are state, regional, and local dignitaries who are going to be presenting proclamations in honor of Dr. King's legacy.
Hello, this is the Board of the Richland County Commissioners, and we're each going to have something to say about Martin Luther King Day. And I'm Darrell Banks, and I will start. I'm actually a grad of Iowa State, and I'm happy to say there's been a couple football players from senior high that played at Iowa State. One was Carl Proto, and another was Willie Mack Jr. And they were both, when they played, they were on the best teams Iowa State ever had. And Coach Campbell has said a quote that I think Martin Luther King would attest to, or would appreciate. And that quote is, "The greatness isn't just for the chosen few. Greatness is for those people who choose to be the best, to be different, and demand to become the best version of themselves." That was Matt Campbell, football coach of Iowa State University. And Martin Luther King was one who wanted to see the best from individuals, from teams, and from our whole country. And that's why I chose that quote to give you today. The next commissioner is Cliff Mears.
Yes, I'm Richland County Commissioner Cliff Mears, and on this occasion, I would just like to paraphrase the great Dr. Martin Luther King by saying our goal should be to judge all people by the content of their character. Next, we have Tony Vero, Commissioner.
Thank you, Superintendent Jefferson, faculty, and more importantly, students of Mansfield City Schools. I would like to greatly thank you for letting us be a part of your celebration today. In light of what's happened in this country, I went online and looked at some very important quotes left by Dr. King. Obviously, many of those quotes were a message of love and unity. And one quote that stuck out for today was when he said, "Never succumb to the temptation of bitterness." And I know you, especially the students, have heard a lot of this messaging of late because it is important. Dr. King's message of unity and love and working together is never more important at a time like this. And all of you have an opportunity to shape our future, regardless of our skin color, of our nationality. It is a time for love and unity. And that's when I think of Dr. King and what he did for this country and what all of you can do for not only this county, but for our country. And I can't thank you enough for letting us be a part of this day. Thank you for everything you do for your school system and our community. And here's to a much better 2021 and the years to come. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marilyn John, and I am your representative in the Ohio House. In August of 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech to a crowd of some 250,000 people during the March on Washington. These famous words have shown up during some of the most contentious times and places in world history. During the protests in Tiananmen Square, China, on a wall in Israel built around parts of the West Bank, a train in Budapest, and a mural in suburban Sydney. But did you know the words, "I have a dream," were not part of the original text of the speech, which King wrote the night before? It was 87 degrees on that August day in Washington, D.C., and Dr. King was the last of 16 speakers. As he stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, spirits waning, Mahalia Jackson cried out, "Tell him about the dream, Martin," and history was made. Just like today, 1963 was a time of political divide, with protests, riots, and civil unrest. But Dr. King chose to give hope and optimism for the future. It wasn't until years later that this speech was seen as a defining moment in the civil rights movement. As we celebrate the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., what are your dreams? Let's work together to make our dreams a reality for the common good of all Americans. God bless Richland County, the great state of Ohio, and these United States of America.
Hello, I'm State Senator Mark Romanchuk, and I am honored to join you today to celebrate the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The legacy of Dr. King is one of strength in the face of adversity, courage in the face of uncertainty, and perseverance in the face of failure. Through nonviolent activism and a steady voice, Dr. King changed the landscape of this great nation and provided leadership and hope to generations of Americans of all backgrounds, faiths, and perspectives. His actions and words continue to resonate and are still true today. I ask you to join me in honoring Dr. King's life and accomplishments by continuing his work to ensure our nation and our communities are places of equal opportunity for all. Thank you.
Dr. King represented the best in humanity because he stood for justice for all. For this year's We Are One Community program, students in grades K through 12 were given grade-level topics for their MLK projects that would promote, enhance, and celebrate diversity and inclusion. This is going to be an exciting time right now for the students of the Mansfield City Schools, and we are so glad that you're joining us today to see them. We begin with our first presentation with grades kindergarten through 6. Their topic, how I can make a difference in my community.
Hello, my name is Damian Keenball. I am a second grader at Prospect Elementary School. This is my writing about Martin Luther King Jr. Kids can become friends by talking to each other a lot. That is what Martin Luther King Jr. would want us to do. He wanted to be peaceful when stuff was wrong. He was a church person who taught to others to be kind. He worked against racism and violence. I met a boy named Jamil. I was new at Prospect. He was the second kid I met at school. We started to talk, and the next day we became friends. Even though we are pretty different, we still are friends. That's what I am trying to say. We can all be friends and not fight.
My name is Keon Fagan. I'm a second grader in second grade at Prospect Elementary School. This is my writing about Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an amazing person. He was not trying to be a bully. He wanted to be a kind person. He did not want any problems with anybody. He was a good citizen who worked to make our country safe for everyone. I want to be like Martin, to be an amazing person. I will do my best in school. I will get good grades because I will do my work and my homework and study. I want to be like Martin. I do not want to be a bully either. I help people in school. I don't make fun of people who are different from me. Keiston is my friend. I was new to school and he started to be nice to me. I'm darker. Keiston is light and I'm darker. Keiston and I go to different schools now, but we still are friends. I want to be like Martin. I try to be kind and not have any problems with others. It is easier for me because black people can be friends with everybody now. Black people and all people are safe to be themselves. I feel safe around people. I think Mansfield and Ohio are pretty good. People seem pretty nice. I have lots of friends. That is the way it should be. I want to be like Martin when I grow up. I want to be a good citizen that helps people. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Justin Munzel. I am in the school good at Prospect Elementary School. This is my writing about Martin Luther King Jr. I would like to make the world a better place like Martin Luther King. I would like to better my community just like MLK. I would like to help people that don't have as much as I do. I could help the community by handing out blankets and food to people that don't have anything, by helping this way. I am always spreading love to people just like he did. He showed people that no matter what happens in life, not to give up. MLK stood up for people that couldn't stand up for themselves. He helped make the world a better place.
One way I can make a difference in my community is by creating a study group for kids my age. We would benefit from learning how to work together and build social skills. Working together, it will also help us work as a team and learn communication skills and trust each other. For example, my grandma and I are working together on learning how to write a paragraph. That is a way I can help my community.
I can help make a difference in my community by paying attention to what is going on around my community. That will help me keep the area safe. I can help with chores, what as helping carry groceries and getting the mail. We can plant trees and flowers to help animals with homes. I can recycle bottles to make board feeders to help schools and boards. That is how I can help my community.
How can I make a difference in my community? Everybody has needs like food, housing, and clothing, but not everyone has everything they need. We can help people in need and make a difference in our neighborhood and community. If somebody's house burns down or somebody sells their car to pay for their rent, these are big needs. We can help people in those situations by letting them stay in our house until they can find a new place to live or driving them to work or school. These are big needs, but everybody has some small things they sometimes could use help with too. If we see someone at the grocery store and they forgot their money, or if someone could use a new coat, we could decide to help people in those situations. You won't make a difference if you don't find a need. If you're a person that needs a helping hand, then you hope that someone will make a difference in your life. So put yourself in someone else's shoes and let's do for other people what we would want if we were in their situation. No matter who the person is, even if they don't look, think, or believe the way you do, you can be a difference in someone else's life in your community.
How can I make a difference in my community? There are a ton of ways to make a difference in your community, and I have written some down for you. I hope they are helpful and that you will do at least one of these things on the list to help out your community. A simple way is to get some people together and pick up trash around your community. It may not seem like much, but it's not only helpful to your community, it's also helpful for the environment. You may be thinking, how does that help your community? In my opinion, it helps make a more peaceful community. Another way to make a difference in your community is to help out small businesses like boutiques and places to go out to eat. Instead of going to a chain restaurant for lunch, go to a non-chain restaurant in your community. And for clothes, instead of always going to Target to get clothes, go to a local boutique. And usually locally owned businesses are more available to help you. And not only do the owners of the small businesses get something good out of it, so do you. It's a win-win scenario. A way that is really going to make a difference is helping helping out the people in your community that need help. That can include if someone needs help with, say, getting food, give them a few dollars for food. You can also help them out in a very easy way, which is if they are going on vacation, ask them if there's anything outside of their house that they need help with, like taking trash to their end of their driveway for them. So that is how to make a difference in your community. I hope this helped you understand the things you can do to make a difference in your community. I hope that you can make a difference in your community.
We're going to continue our program now with essays from students in grades 7th through 8th. Their topic, What Social Justice Means to Me.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, said Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963. A huge injustice happened on May 25, 2020, when George Floyd, an innocent African-American man, was pinned to the ground and killed by a policeman in Minneapolis. It sparked many Black Lives Matter protests all over the country. The Black Lives Matter protesters were peacefully protesting police cruelty towards people of color, but they were answered with violence from white policemen. The police sprayed tear gas on the protesters and shot them with rubber bullets. Some were even killed. Just last week, some people stormed the Capitol, threatening senators with guns because of the outcome of the 2020 election. Police didn't use much violence with those protesters, but for the Black Lives Matter protests over the summer, they were more aggressive, even though the Black Lives Matter protesters were peaceful. 150 years ago, slavery was abolished, and then there was segregation between whites and blacks. Later, that was abolished too, but African Americans were still treated differently. We should all be treated, and they still are today. That needs to stop. There should be no difference between anyone. We should all be equal. It's not fair that some people are being violent to people just because of their skin color, or because they are protesting for Black Lives Matter. To me, justice means that everybody is the same, and that everybody has the same rights, and we're all treated equally. It also means that police violence needs to stop. There's no reason that police can be cruel to people of a different skin color, but they show more nonviolence to people of the same skin color. Justice means rights. Justice means nonviolence. But most importantly, justice means equality.
What does the phrase social justice mean? First of all, social justice has numerous meanings. For instance, voting rights, healthcare, racial injustice, gun violence, equality, and so on. The majority of the fault for these things cannot be blamed on a single individual. We are a country, a nation. So if anything, everyone should take the blame as all for one, as they say. Every community has its pros and cons. I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that some people have been known to ignite fires just because they're bored, or even in the past, they were in crossfire of something traumatic, and this has brought them to this today. The deterioration of trust, equality, pride, and even more humanity has come from these decisions. Social justice can also mean the equality for economic, political, social rights, and opportunities of people. At this point in time, close to 2012 was when racism first started to show its true colors. In my eyes, I could care less about someone's ethnicity. It's not about how someone looks or just because they're different than you. Everyone is human, and the fact that someone with different skin color could be treated in a sickly manner just because they are unique makes me feel sick to my stomach. The fact that some people think they are better than others just because of how they look is probably the worst thing that can go through someone's head. Quite often, gun violence occurs. In the time period between 1968 and 2011, approximately 1.4 million people have fatal gunshot wounds, and that's in America alone. Imagine if there was a tally for how many people in the world died from a fatal gunshot wound in just that 43-year gap. In 2020, there was a tally of close to 40,000 firearm deaths, again in the U.S. alone. It's my belief that most of these deaths were by mentally unstable human beings. There's a great possibility that I could be wrong. Nonetheless, I'm not blaming anyone because in the year of 2020, more than half the firearm deaths were caused by suicide alone. Most of these deaths could have been caused by bad backgrounds, bullying, etc. But these events could also be caused by social justice if someone feels as though they are not being treated properly, or even racism can lead to fatal death by a gunshot wound. Moving to voting rights. In America, you have a legal adult or 18-year-old to have the right to vote. Despite that there are approximately 199 million people in the U.S. that are 18 years and older, only around 66% of them actually vote. Others may not get the chance to vote, or are afraid to, or even if it may be against their religion. But as you can see with the percentage, that's a massive difference with how many people could actually be voting. Just because it's a human right does not mean we have to use it. According to the First Amendment, it is not a requirement to vote. It may not state it directly, but if you look at the First Amendment's main qualities, you can withdraw the evidence. In this case, social justice comes from your rights being taken from you or even used against you. That is why some people are scared to vote, because they are scared to know what could possibly happen if someone else does not like the person they voted for. Do not forget that social justice is the rejection or mistreatment that someone can receive because of how they may look, their voting choices, their words, and how they may speak them. Or even if they own a gun, but they only have it to protect and not to hurt. A human being should never forget their rights given to them. But at the same time, they should never exceed the limits to their rights for the reason that could possibly end in violence, a fine, prison, jail, or even a suspension to certain rights. To have the ability to watch from the darkness and what really goes on in the world has been along the lines of eye-opening. I hope that after reading this you can see into my eyes about these specific subjects. Therefore, in conclusion, it has been established that social justice is a universal term for human rights and beliefs.
Our exciting student showcase continues now with essays and even a musical selection from students in grades 9 through 12 from Mansfield Senior High School. Their topic: can social justice ever be achieved? Why or why not?
The feeling of success is a joyful feeling, but that joy is not complete when you know others weren't given the same opportunities. It feels greater to succeed when everybody has had the chance to. The social injustice our country faces is preventing us from reaching a state of equal resource. America is known for being a free country, but is it? As long as a minority is seen as less than, we can never achieve social justice. People have been trying to achieve social justice for years, but have been looked at as radical. It is hard to understand how somebody can see others yearning for equality and think it is wrong. Recently, we have seen people all over the world protesting for social justice in the Black Lives Matter rallies. The Black Lives Matter movement is not saying that Black Lives Matter any more than anybody else's, but that Black lives are treated as if they do not matter. Protesters marched against excessive police brutality against African Americans. It is proven that police brutality is much more likely to happen to a black person over a white person. There is absolutely no reason for this other than blatant racism. This is extremely unfair, and as long as racists like these police and people that support them exist, social justice will not happen. Who would have thought that something that somebody can't help would put them at a disadvantage at life? Since the birth of time, women have been looked down upon. They have been told that they exist for male pleasure. In the 50s, sexism became so accepted that even women believed that they were supposed to please their husbands. 1913 birthed the first feminist march, but nobody took it seriously. It was not until recently that feminism really took off and women started to not accept the discrimination. Even now, a woman makes 81 cents to a man's dollar. Men create this inequality and still say that the reason women aren't as wealthy and great is just because they are women. There is no way that social justice will ever be achieved if there are people who discriminate. Minorities have to be given the same opportunities for any sort of equality to be achieved. People will always have different opinions and think that certain people are superior to others. No matter how much social justice is wanted, it will never be accomplished.
Can social justice be achieved? This is a question that everyone asks themselves. Yet, what is the point of asking the question if we don't do anything to achieve it? What is social injustice? Is it when someone is discriminated against because of their race or gender? While this is social injustice, this is something that everyone faces in their life, no matter what gender, race, or sexuality. We need to realize that instead of focusing on these injustices, we need to put a stop to these injustices before they happen. Social injustice has been around for a long time. In the 1970s, social injustice was a moral reaction due to poverty, but social injustice has always been around. Think about in the 1690s when slavery was brought to the United States. African Americans faced many injustices because of their race and gender. Those of darker skin color and with different ethnicity were believed to be less superior and forced into poverty, even after they were freed. With the women of color, while they also had it bad, sometimes they were forced to have offspring with their masters and others. We never think about that. Do you ever try to imagine yourself in their shoes? Today we still have social injustice in the world. For example, in 2019, the nationwide rate was 250 cases of aggravated assault per 1,000 of the population. A quotation from the site statistic.com. Yet, did you know that in half of these cases, the perpetrator goes without any punishment? This happens because of something called victim blaming. Some believe that because a woman walks a certain way or dresses in a certain way, that she is asking to be sexually assaulted. But this is not true. The definition of sexual assault is any type of sexual activity or contact that you do not consent to. How is this assault the women's fault? Just because they are women, they are believed to be weak. Some even view women as an abomination and even thinking that women are responsible for the start of sin altogether. Even today, these social injustices still stand. For example, the recent George Floyd case, the arresting officer killed him and for no other reason than the color of his skin. He didn't resist or fight back, yet the officer kept his knee on his neck, even after he pleaded, saying, "Please, I can't breathe," over and over again. This, as we all know, caused a huge spike in the Black Lives Matter movement. Some people even use this as an excuse, however, to say that one race was superior to the others. But like others believed in the matter of all lives, just because citizens say that Black Lives Matter, they don't mean that that's the only race that matters. They're saying all lives matter. Sometimes people just think that because someone else has a different skin color or is a different gender than them, that they are better than the individual who is different. The Black community faces these injustices every day. Can we achieve social justice? We can. But to do this, we must come together, stand up for each other, no matter what difference is between us. What can you do to help achieve social justice? Even the little things can make a difference. Ohioan Neil Armstrong said, "That's one small step for man, but a giant leap for mankind." Even just one person speaking up for what is right can make a huge difference in humanity. You can make a difference in the world, whether it be big or small changes. This is our world. Make it a place we can all be proud of.
Every day I wake and everything is broken. Turning off my phone just to get out of bed and get home every evening and history's repeating. Turning off my phone 'cause it's hurting my chest. Hey, and heaven knows I'm not helpless. Yeah. But what can I do? I can't see the use in me crying if I'm not even trying to make the change I wanna see. I can't sit and hope, I can't just sit and pray that I can find a love when all I see is pain. I'm falling to my knees, and though I do believe, I can't just preach, baby, preach. Whoa, whoa. I can't just preach, baby, preach. All I hear is voices, everybody's talking. Nothing real is happening 'cause nothing is new. Now when all this tragic and I just feel sedated, why do I feel numb? Is that all I can do? Yeah, and heaven knows I'm not helpless. Yeah, but I'm only human. I can't see the use in me crying if I'm not even trying to make the change I wanna see. I can't sit and hope, I just can't sit and pray that I can find a love when all I see is pain. I'm falling to my knees, and though I do believe, I can't just preach, baby, preach. Whoa, whoa, I can't just preach, baby, less, yeah. But what can I do? I can't see the use in me crying if I'm not even trying to make the change I wanna see. I can't sit and hope, I just can't sit and pray that I can find a love when all I see is pain. I try to do the things I say that I believe. I can't just preach, baby, preach. Whoa, oh, I can't just preach, baby, preach. Whoa, oh, I can't just preach, baby, preach. Falling to my knees, and though I do believe, I can't just preach, baby, preach.
Even though I would love to say that I think one day we would be able to have social justice for everyone, I don't think we will. At first, I thought maybe one day we would be able to, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that people are too strong-headed to ever let that happen. No matter how hard we try, people will always have differing opinions. There will never be a day when all of us have the same opinion about justice. We will never all think the same way because we're all raised differently and all think differently. As Americans, we cling to the fact that our First Amendment right is the right to have our own opinions and the freedom to say whatever we want. Some people might even have the same opinion as you, but just to be difficult, will disagree with you. Right now is a very sensitive time for social justice. There are so many different arguments being made about different topics. Some of the most well-known ones are Black Lives Matter issues, Trump politics, and all-around sexism and racism. There have been rallies, groups made, protests, and so much more being done for people trying to have social justice for their fight. However, with what I said earlier, not too much is being done. People are split into different sides, and some people even claim not to have a side. So with people always being on different sides and never being able to be on the same side, we will never truly have social justice. One person, at least, will always feel like that is not what should be done or that is not what is right. So until the day that everyone is on the same side and until everyone agrees with each other, we can never have true social justice.
Social justice is the justice in the terms of distribution of wealth, privileges, and opportunities in society. In this society, we do not have this social justice, especially in the Black community. Black people are not given the same opportunities because of their skin color. Social injustice has always been a thing, but this year there has been an exponential growth of the social injustice all around America. A few victims of social injustice this year were George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Casey Goodson. They were all killed by the police for being Black. The racist people in today's society are the reason there will never be social justice because Black people are not given equal opportunities. They are stereotyped as dangerous, and the federal systems are not built to protect Black lives. If our society had social justice, then Black people would not be looked at as dangerous. When a police officer kills a Black person, the first thing they say is they thought they saw him or her with a weapon. Most times they do not have a weapon and their hands are up and they are not able to fight back. Black people are 3 times or more as likely to be killed by the cops than a white person. Society sees white people as less dangerous than Black people, and therefore they are not killed as often when encountered with the police. Because of the social injustice in our system, it allows Black people to be portrayed as dangerous people. They are more likely to be killed by the police. Society will never achieve social justice because people do not want to see everyone equal. Black people will always be seen as inferior and they will always be dangerous people, but Black people are treated poorly by the police, perceived as dangerous, and are killed and brutally beaten, convicted by the people who are supposed to protect us at a higher rate than any other ethnicities. Most people will never be able to agree that all people are equal because of the social injustice that has been passed down for generations. It will continue to be passed because of people's political socialization that they learn from their friends and families around them. Families like this are the reason there will never be social injustice in our societies, and people who are different from them will not receive same privileges, wealth, and opportunities as white people.
Social justice is something that could be achieved, but because of the individuals which we are trying to achieve social justice, it is unlikely that we will reach the goal in the near future. The repetition of social unjust things becomes a nauseating roller coaster ride of ups and downs that accumulate into blow-ups considered unacceptable in current society. It is mentally exhausting to see people of color killed by those who are entrusted to protect us and our inalienable rights, especially the things of which they bear no guilt. We are in a land of innocence until proven guilty. Or is that when your skin color is only lacking melanin? Harassment of unprecedented levels, leaving people of color with a protrude taste in their mouth, regarding those who are different from them only in their skin color. Does this harassment and execution happen only at the hands of those sworn to protect us? No, by those who are believed they have the right to behave in socially unjust ways because of their sense of entitlement and privilege. There are not consequences for those who think and behave in this manner. People of color are looked down upon for their skin color, their hair textures, their prominent features. There is no reprieve to people of color because we are told to get over it when we believe we have been wronged. It always will be more difficult for a person of color to achieve the same level of success as their white counterparts. Even with better education, more qualifications, and better work ethic, because of perception in a predominantly white society is that of negative connotation. To answer the original question, can social justice be achieved? Yes, it could most certainly be achieved because nothing is impossible. However, until issues like systematic racism, discrimination, inequality, and hatred are solved, it is unlikely that social justice can be achieved. No matter how peacefully people try to protest social injustice or how fiercely they fight it, there will still be those in society who push back and make life intolerable for people of color because they are ignorant. Some folks believe that understanding is the key to reaching social justice, but in all actuality, education is the #1 answer to killing social injustice. Educate everyone who will listen because education can heal the masses. Compassion and understanding for our brothers and sisters in life can provide a solid foundation of love and friendship, leading us all toward a more inclusive, diverse, beautiful, and socially just society.
Social injustice has various meanings for different people, cultures, and globally. Let us first start with a general definition of social justice, a concept about claimed unfairness and injustice within a particular society. The idea is different depending on the background or culture of the individual perceiving the situation. There are many conflicts in defining social injustice, as what may be fair to one person may not be fair to another. Current social justice topics are prejudice, discrimination, oppression, religion, racism, stereotyping, and sexism. Social injustice occur when there are apparent differences within a population of people. There are some prominent examples of social justice issues within the last few years that seem to worsen. Social injustice impedes or society and culture and event hurt living situations, income, growth within the marketplace. When we look at the world, the United States, and even our cities, we see the families are more impoverished, children hungry and go without, business are going out of business, and the number of homeless increases. We are facing barriers and need to find remedies or possible solutions to build unity among the people. The most apparent social injustice is COVID-19 pandemic, triggering economic hardships that have left millions unemployed. Black Lives Matter protests have ignited harsh discussions about systematic racism with the United States. Inequality has been proven as the police department has been the headline of many national newspapers when officers are not being punished for unjust actions and murders. the list does not stop here. Voting rights are not a topic in the news, as some believe that elections was not properly administrated. Racism is an issue that has been around for centuries in the United States, and its impact is found in every area of one's life: education, business, media, marriage, and only life. After the murder, or some saying killing, of George Floyd, tensions have been high and eyes have been kept on the police. I'm not saying that every police is racist, but all are being watched. Now, the law has passed for those who feel that their life is being threatened, they can shoot and possibly kill another. When will it stop? This is only the increase of the number of killings, especially those racially motivated, within the United States. This alone is an injustice that many have tried to remedy for years with very little success. This brings me to another social injustice: gun violence. Hospital has been bombarded with gunshot wounds, patients and families mourning over loved ones barely holding onto life. This list goes on, and there's many topics that were not included in this paper, but when does it end? One must ask themselves, what can they do? And one may ask, when will we have peace?
My name is Marnice Harris, and I am the proud head principal at Mansfield Senior High School. First, I want to thank our superintendent for having the vision to go another year to honor Dr. Martin Luther King in a different way, online. This has been a ride for the past year, and when we wanted to look at how we addressed the vision of Dr. Martin Luther King, I had posed to the group, why don't we let the children do the heavy lifting? And as you saw, I am a leader of very powerful women within this building. Now, some of the things you heard may be a tough pill to swallow, but we are looking at social justice and injustice through the eyes of teenagers. And what can we do as adults? We can sit and we can listen. One of the things I pride myself on is graduating critical thinkers. And one thing that I will tell each and every one of my students, you must have a mind of your own. How can we create change? Through conversation, through patience, through humility, through acceptance of things that have already happened, and acceptance of things that we can change. I want to thank every young lady that read their essay. When you talk about things like social injustice, it is not easy. And many adults feel that they don't have a place or a seat at the table. But nah, sis, I'm different. I believe in my kids at Mansfield Senior High more than they sometimes believe in themselves. So the question to them, can social justice be achieved? Absolutely. And I believe that I am a leader of individuals that will lead that change. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the We Are One Community Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Celebration. I hope that these presentations that you've seen today from our students in the Mansfield City School District will inspire you and inspire all of us to do better and to be better in our community.